Right, I think it's time to start gluing this cabinet together, at least part of it, because it's all very well getting things to the right dimensions and cutting holes and wood following them if you make them slightly too, whatever you make chunk out of it, but sanding it down and that kind of thing. But until you start to actually put it together, it kind of looks like you're making very little progress. It's kind of frustrating. Got some wood glue here. It's just PVA type glue. Yeah, there we go, water-based. Was it polyvinyl acetate, aka PVA? Yeah, the one thing is it only has a 10-minute working time. There we go. So, kind of need to work out how we're going to do this first. So, I happen to have some corner clamps. Well, I found them in a drawer. So, I'll be using those. I've got 4 of those. And I've got some of these clamps that I've been using before. This is actually quite a complicated bit here. It's these 2 side pieces. 2 of these, one's down there, hard to notice, but that is a separate piece, and this piece. 3 in the middle and 2 on the sides, so 5 pieces. I'm thinking maybe take either 2 or 4 of these and do it from that side, like so, if you're wondering how these things work. And then I can clamp across here with the larger ones. And I think that's going to work, so I'm going to actually try and glue it together now, because you can only spend so much time guessing and pretending in your head that you're doing something when you're not actually doing it. It'll never get done. So let's give it a go. Worst case is I bail out and wipe it off with the damn cloth. I can figure out where I put that now. There it is. And it just says put it on one or both sides. So let's try and put a bead on here. That's a lot already. Don't worry, I licked my fingers before I started, so they're clean. There's still quite a bit of glue on there. Start putting some on that side. These are mostly to get a good 90-degree out of it. Rather hard to see, but I'm tightening it off camera. If you're wondering why I spread it out, it's because it's slightly more controllable in terms of getting it where I want it. Now I know that there aren't going to be any spots here without glue. I know it spreads when you clamp it, but it's hard to know where it's going to end up. Prop it up like that. Corner clamps are slightly big, so I won't be able to put another one down there, but I could put like diagonally opposite, I think. You see, that won't fit next to it like that, but the plan is to put it up here. So let's hope the plan works. But we won't know until we try, so let's give it a go. This is the first time I've used MDF or superwood or whatever you want to call it. Kind of impressed when you get it cut from the board shop and how square everything is, and I'm kind of used to things being a little bit not at 90-degree angles, probably because I don't cut as well as they do. I don't have a big fancy machine for one thing. Basically I'm just feeling if it's flush here, these two, this board and this board, I want them to be, meet exactly, which can be done. And then I also want them flush, this board and this board, so they come out a bit. And just trying to get this one in here. Grab hold, please. You're telling me this thing's not at 90 degrees now, or what? Maybe that one's damaged. Who knows? Let's try another one. Okay, we've got that one. Now we still need this one in here. Let's glue you here. Way too much glue there. But it's not too much problem because we need a lot more over here as well. Actually, that's a bit of a waste to put it on there. We can put it on this side here. You can put it on both sides according to the instructions. So not on the carpet. That will not be good. So you get an idea. Pick that bit up there. So it should end up somewhere under there. Oh dear. Getting it on the wrong piece over there. Now look at this, making a big mess now. Hang on. Clean the fingers, step 1. Clean the board, step 2. Exits off. There we go. Step 3. Well, that explains the problem in a nutshell, doesn't it? That one should be like that. Maybe I shouldn't blame the corner clamps when I can't put the board in the right orientation. That's what I've ended up with. Have a look from that side. If we ignore these, I kind of put them in as bracing. Just some spare bits. Well, hopefully that works out. And it's the next morning, and the power's off again, so we may as well take a look at what we've managed to get done here. Looks kind of cool and futuristic, right? Well, it's just all the clamps. That should fit. I have to work that one out. We have a fancy looking box. That'll be the top. This will be sandwiched, I suppose, with a long sideboard from here to here going down. Same with this side. So this, for example, will not actually be visible. This will all be glued, this whole entire surface. You can see too much glue here. Probably should have wiped it off. But this is dead space and will be inside. And, well, it's not actually used though. This is where the crossover will sit, which is why I started gluing together the cabinet, even though I'm still building the crossover, because I wanted to figure out, you know, how much space I'm going to have in here, which will basically be something like that. And just to show you that we're more or less where we need to be. That's about perfect in terms of I can't feel it. And then that's very close. It's slightly that way. But when I say slightly, I mean we're talking less than a mil. So we'll be okay. And just to give you a bit of a better idea of how it's going to start to shape up, this is a front panel, you know, for the holes for the various drivers. And then this will fit behind it. So now you start to see that's the little space for, well, the tweeter and I suppose the mid. Cool, coming together. I think I'm going to glue another one of these together because, hey, don't need electricity to glue things together. One thing is, if you can ever have an electrical generation company in your country or a monopoly, try and make sure that they're well run. Makes life a lot easier. Industry, etc., jobs, blah, blah, blah. Don't mess up your ability to have cheap, reliable power. It's a terrible, terrible idea. Okay, let's try and remember how I put this together last night. It's not difficult to put together, but if you do it in the right order, it makes life a lot easier. Let's try it more like that. I think the table's a bit skewed, by the way. It's not the best table, and we're on a slope. Okay, so if we do it like that, we can glue that. Then put the lid on, which is actually sitting underneath it, so we should remove that. And then we can probably clamp it all together at once. I think that'll be the easiest way. Trying to remember, maybe I shouldn't have had that whiskey last night. But I ran out of homebrew beer, so, you know, what are you going to do, right? You're going to drink something. When the power's out. Get the glue going. Little part of the lid. Righty. Oh man. Making a mess. Again, I'm not too worried about making a mess because this is all going on the inside. You know, there's boards clamping on the face and there's boards clamping on the side, so it's, well, not much of a big deal in the end. And we need that side as well. I'll probably still whistle without getting a copyright strike, eh? Definitely is hard to do audio related stuff. Sorry for anybody, or have my sympathies, put it that way. This one, that's better. Bit too much glue, but I will. No, I didn't cut it, so that's not my burn mark. That was the board shop who cut that one like that. Well, I certainly managed to burn some of the other pieces, which apparently is also when you don't go fast enough with the blade. It has enough time to spin on the same area and, well, generate heat, friction, and cause a burn mark like that. I decided not to sand it out because then it would be too small. Way too much glue again. Remembering now about using glue in the past that it's way too easy to add too much glue. A little bit goes a long way. When you clamp it down, yeah, suddenly the glue is everywhere. Let's try and get you on here to some degree. Actually, let's rather do one of the bottom corners. Ooh, that might be easy. Much easier having it sit off the bottom there. Go. Smoothing off the glue on the side there with my finger. It's part of my alignment technique. Basically, I use my fingers until it's smooth, and then I'm more convinced that that's correct than any other thing, like visually. As I've said before in some of my, or at least one of my videos, the fingers can see that which the eyes cannot. And sometimes people think I'm talking the biggest load of nonsense, but you should try it if you don't believe me. Okay, so that one's going to come on like this. And let's try and get you more or less there. Well, it's a very good fit in the front, but the side's a little bit out. It is not helping today. Neither is that, but oh well. Stay. Sometimes a bit more clamping force will calm everything down. Well, it's a bit of a fiddly business, but I think we've got something in the end. And let's let that dry for some hours. So the reason I'm building these first is I think it'll form a nice stable base to build the rest of the speaker cabinet around. Let me show you what I mean. Because now, even though it's all loose together, you can put that on there, it's stable. Just line that one up. You can put the front panel on, and a base plate down the other side. And the other reason is I need to figure out what I can fit in this space, because that's where my crossovers are going to go. Well, for each driver, when I say crossovers, it's one crossover for the speaker, but yeah, they're so big I'm thinking they're going to be in 3 different parts, and that'll let me figure out how big to make the hole in the back. Because when the other side panel's on top, you won't see it. Yeah, so that's about how it's going to look. Yeah, fancy inletting or whatever, recessing.